guys a place to go to school, because there wasn't before.
And I'm extremely grateful. I can say I know a lot of my fellow students are as well.
Yeah.
Do you want to just describe how you came into the military? Like what
Sure.
your feeling? I understand you were drafted, correct?
I was drafted, and I was drafted well, my hometown was Woonsocket, Rhode Island, but I went to Quincy, Mass. To work in a shipyard because it was an advancement for me, a lot more money, and I was deferred 3 times. That's 6-month deferment. That's why I went in later than the others. I actually had a very early number. I would have gone in quite early, but I had 6-month deferments because I was working on a heavy naval shipyard where we built the USS Massachusetts, heavy cruisers, and most of all, we were building aircraft carriers. And the Japanese were sinking our aircraft carriers, and we would just build them as fast as we could because they were such a necessity. That's probably why I did get the deferments. And I was drafted out of Quincy, Mass., went to Fort Devens. Initially, I took tests that they give the new draftees, and they wanted me very much to be a pilot because I passed the physical for pilot training and the educational part of it, but I couldn't pass the depth perception test of the final test. They wanted me so bad that they kept me there for 3 weeks and would send me back every week to try to retake the test, but I never could pass it. My depth perception wasn't good enough.
Were you scared when you found out you were going into the Army, or was your family scared?
Well, I imagine family was, but I think that we just took it in stride because it was a thing that we did, and our culture was that whatever you were told to do, you did. I would say we were much more disciplined people than the people are nowadays, and we paid more attention to discipline and just doing what you were supposed to do. Right. I don't know that I was scared, not at that time, because it was far removed from the time I would go. But I did go to Texas, and we took part in a brand new program. Prior to us going in, infantry training was only 12 weeks, but we were the first classes that had 17 weeks of infantry training, and we fired and knew how to take apart every gun that the infantry had available. And so we went through quite a rigorous training, and we all knew after a little bit that we were going to go into combat. Well, we didn't know whether we were going to go to Japan or whether we were going to go to Europe, but we know where we were going. We did.
Did you form any long-lasting friendships or during your time in service?
Yes, I did. I did have some. Unfortunately, when you leave the service, the people get scattered because they are from all over the country, and the way we were released as we had a certain number of points, so it wasn't like everybody left at the same time, so some had to serve more time, and I was out of the service by October of 1945, and I was discharged at that time, right?
And
but I do. You asked if I had any friends. Yes,
yes.
I did. I lost some of my buddies killed in action and so forth. But when I came back, believe it or not, 40 years after I came back, I ran into my sergeant, who was my sergeant when I trained in England, and then he was my sergeant when we went into Normandy, and he was with us till he was injured. He never came back after he was injured because his injury was too severe to do infantry duty again.
Now, were you issued any military awards that you would like to talk about?
Yes, I have 2 Purple Hearts. I have 3 Bronze Stars. I have, on my campaign medal, I have 4 stars, which are for all the battles that occurred. I believe it's Normandy, Northern France, Central Europe, and Germany. And I also have an arrowhead for D-Day. And these are all on my discharge papers, so that I'm entitled to those, include the good conduct ribbon and the victory medal. And I also have a medal for the German occupation, because after the war we occupied an area called the Bremen Enclave in Bremen, Germany, till it was time for me to go home. And after the war, the other medal, or whatever you want to call it, I do have is my battalion of the 175th, 1st Battalion, 150th Infantry Regiment. We received a Presidential Unit Citation for a battle that was called Hill 108, where we captured this hill and held it against German attack. And at the time, it was just about the deepest penetration that any American unit made in Europe against the Germans. And for that, we also received a French Croix de Guerre from the French government. Since the war, I've also received the French Medal of Honor from the French government.
Is there a particularly vivid memory of your World War II experience that you'd like to describe?
Well, some of the vivid things that I saw, I won't describe them very much, but some of the battle scenes that were very catastrophic. I lost my best buddy. He was the Browning automatic rifleman, and I was his assistant, and we were together in training in Texas, and then we were assigned that job in a unit, and we were always together, and he was killed on June 16th. I'll never forget that. I actually took his billfold, carried it the rest of the war, and after the war brought it and gave it to his family. I also have a vivid memory of people that were very that had very bad injuries that I can remember I'll never forget. Also, I can vivid memories of my first lieutenant who was in charge of my platoon, and he was killed on the day I was injured, and I have a very vivid memory. And my memory of that is as if he was almost suspended in animation, and the Germans kept firing machine gun bolts over him, and he couldn't get down. The bullets sort of kept him up. I was able to get down, and I was injured. So I have memories like that, and others. Those are my most kind of vivid memories, yes. I have a memory of a fellow we had to cross over who died on a footbridge going over the Ruhr River. We had to step over him. The memories are not nice. They're that kind of memories. There weren't many, good memories. That's why we're not able to talk too much about it. And those are the kind of memories I have.
But were there any particular jokes that you remember at the time?
I won't say they were jokes, but there were a couple of fun things, and I just would tell you, I did jot something down here, and I never had training as a sergeant, but I was a battlefield. A lieutenant told me, you're now a sergeant of the 3rd Platoon, and it was just done just like that. Don't remember the day. Don't remember his name, don't remember what he looked like, anything like that. So I really wasn't trained as a sergeant. But I can remember stuff like, we were going in someplace in Germany, or it might have been Belgium, I'm not sure, probably it was Germany, and there was a deer. And my men wanted to know, I had a squad at the time, they said, well, they wanted to know if they could fire at it. And I probably broke all kinds of rules. I says, go ahead. But they didn't hit the deer. So it was kind of funny that I let them do that, but they still weren't able to hit the deer. Another funny thing that I will tell you is that I can remember once we overran a German position, probably was in France, and there was a lot of chickens there, and so here we had some live chickens, and so we've got the live chickens. Now how are we going to cook them? Well, I said, well, anybody know how to prepare a chicken? And nobody says, no, we don't know how to do it, because generally your father did or your mother. And in those days, like now you get chicken that's all ready for you, you just throw it in the oven. But this is a chicken with the feathers and it's alive. So, well, finally one of the kids, one of the soldiers said, he was from probably Virginia, West Virginia, he says, well, I don't know how to skin I don't know how to take care of a chicken, but I know how to skin a coon, and I know how to skin a rabbit. I said, well, go ahead. So we skinned the chicken and we cooked it and ate it, because we didn't know how to get the feathers off. So I thought that was kind of funny. I had in my platoon a fellow by the name of Souza. He won't see this, so it doesn't matter, and he was from Hawaii. And I don't think he ever had any shoes before he came into the Army, because he never could keep his shoes laced up. So when we had inspection, I had to assign, I was a tech sergeant at the time, we would have to assign a man to watch him, get him dressed and watch him, that he didn't sit down in the dirt and untie his shoes. Because he just couldn't stand them being laced up. Because once inspection was over, he would untie them, you know. But I thought that was kind of funny that, we have all kinds of people, He was from Hawaii, and I have a hunch that he might not even own a pair of shoes, Because in Hawaii it's warm and, it's so, yeah. But I don't, but the best jokes are the ones that Maudlin does. And if you look at those, the guys are unshaven and unkempt. Well, that's what a JI in combat looks like. Yeah.
What should future generations learn from your experience?
Well, I'm not so sure what they can learn, because it looks like we haven't learned. We haven't learned in Iraq. We haven't learned in Afghanistan. We haven't learned in Israel. We haven't learned in a lot of places. It had to be a unique situation, because we did collectively free up Europe for the people to revert back to their own countries. But I think one of the lessons that may be learned from this, you have to be very careful about going into other countries and thinking that you can solve their problem, that you can make up a government for them, if they don't really want it. And I know we had a revolution, and the United States was made up, and we have a great government, and France the same way. But you just, the lesson may be that because this was a do-or-die situation, maybe that's a reason to work. But what we did do probably was very important. Even though we did the bulk of the fighting, we just gave the countries back to their own people, whether it was France or Belgium or Holland, or Germany. We gave it back to those people to do what they would with it. And they're the only ones that really can solve those problems.
How do you feel about fictional portrayals of the war? Do you feel that they're accurate, or?
I am very resentful of some of that. I've seen some of the movies, like what's the very first one of the Longest Day, I guess, where they depict the Germans as being dumb, being not good soldiers. I remember one puts a a left foot on the right foot, his boot and that, or some officers get caught with his pants down. That's not true. Those soldiers and the Germans, can you imagine that? They conquered the French, the Belgian, the Dutch, just name them, Polish, Czechs, all these countries. They defeated the British Army. They sent the British Army home without any guns or anything. This was an army, and the soldiers there, they were very, very good soldiers. They had very good equipment. In some cases, better than ours. In many cases, better than our equipment. And they had experience. They went through 4 years before war, before we went after them. And just imagine, it took the Russians and us and English, all these countries, to defeat them. Those soldiers were good soldiers. And they were tough. And I've read in history that General Bradley on D-Day wasn't sure that we were going to make it.